Hey, I'm back, and today I want to talk about MTurboReverb. If you saw my channel before, a few months ago, I did a kind of a preview for the beta for this, but now I'm going to do the full overview of it because it just came out. So one of the great things about this reverb is it has so many different algorithms. It's like 100 reverbs in one. It has lots of, if you see here, these are called active presets. And in here you can see small space. You have living room, mojo, bedroom, ambiance, etc. So all these are different algorithms, essentially, with different controls and things that you can all adjust. So it's not just like presets. You can adjust everything to it and make your own preset out of all of these. And the same thing for large spaces, huge spaces, plates, springs, creative effects, special effects, and this 2D positioning. So there's a lots of stuff here. I won't be able to get through all of it today, but I thought I'd just go over, part of it. One thing I should notice, or I should talk about, is MTurboReverb has two versions. It has this version, the normal version, and then it has the LE version. The LE version is kind of like a cut-down version, and it doesn't have all of the stuff that the big version does. The most important one being this edit screen. So if you click here, you can go in and you can mess with any of the stuff in here, like early reflections, late reflections. You can even make your own reverbs. So the LE version, you can't do that, but all these active presets are there, and I believe the normal presets are there too. So if you're wondering, like, hey, I don't want to mess with that, I just want like something to slap on there, you have normal presets here for like acoustic guitar, drums, piano, etc. So you don't have to like go through every single one of these every single time. But if you want to, you can. Before I go into that, I know some of you don't want to hear me just yapping and talking, so I'll put something below so you can see where in the video I start demoing the sounds. So feel free to do that. But first, let's talk about some of the controls. So you have normal controls here. I don't want to go through all of these. Most of them have the same controls. A few of them don't have some controls, so if you see I move in like someplace here, some of the controls will change, like, oh, this one doesn't have early reflections and late reflections. But for the most part, they all have the same type of controls. So I don't want to go through all of them because you know them. But one thing that I probably should bring your attention to is the widening. This is cool because you can make it like larger and stereo-wise, or smaller, which I usually do because sometimes I think it's too wide. Saturation is kind of cool. At first I thought, like, why do I want to use saturation? But it actually does. It kind of compresses it and it gives it a cool feel, which I wasn't expecting, but it is nice. Low cut, bass, treble, normal stuff. One of the best ones is this low cut side. Oftentimes you worry about, what if my low end has too much stereo information? How do I get rid of that? This will cut the side information, the stereo information for your low end. If you want to mono your bass from your reverb, you do that and you don't need another plugin, which is one of the things I really like about this. The widening and that, those are things like I might want to do, but you have to use extra plugins, and it's like, I don't want to like click and open those other things, or I want to save them as a preset. Now you can do that with this. And same thing with the high mid cut. You cut the middle of a stereo signal and the high end if you want to make the side seem a little bit wider. Early reflections, I think maybe you can understand all this stuff. Diffusion, if you don't want like discrete echoes, turn that up, etc. Modulation. This is really cool. You can actually modulate the early reflections, and the good thing about that is it kind of gives it a chorus sound to your source instead of the tail. So that's a cool thing. Deform. This just takes it and it makes the first early reflections louder if you move it this way, I believe. And it makes the first early reflections softer and makes the latter early reflections louder if you move it this way, I believe. Hope I don't have that backwards, but you can test it yourself. I think if you move it up here, it almost sounds like a reverse reverb. But anyways, size, pre-delay. Another cool thing is in the late reverb, you have a pre-delay. So if you don't want to use this, you can just delay the late reflections and it won't mess with the early reflections, which is a really cool feature. Dampening, modulation, blah, blah, crossover. Complexity. So for lots of these algorithms, if you move this up, it will increase, I shouldn't say really the complexity, but it will make, oftentimes, the reverb sound smoother or better. But it does come at the cost of CPU. Another thing I should mention with this is lots of these are low CPU. They don't use lots of computer power. So if you're wanting to use them on every track, you can probably get away with it. But some of them do have a little bit higher CPU consumption. If you want to check for yourself, go into settings here, go into CPU benchmark, just click this. There you go. And it tells me this uses 3.13% of a single core CPU. So it's not using much. It says a single core can run 31.9 instances. And this is actually probably one of the heavier ones. There's lots of them that are using like 1% of my CPU. But you can check that yourself. The ones that are using like spectral stuff or pitch shifting are probably going to use more. But enough of that. So that's pretty much it for the controls. I guess I could go into this, but I want to do a video on all this stuff with the early reflections, late reflections, all designing your own reverbs later, because there's lots of stuff and I can't get through it all in this video, but I'll do that later. And leave me a comment below if you want me to go in depth with that and how to create algorithms and things yourself. But anyways, let's get into this and let's talk here about what it sounds like. So maybe I should do less talking, but let me go over some of the short reverbs first here. I'll do some presets for drums, I guess. I'll let you hear it first with nothing on it bypassed, and then I'll turn some of the presets on. Okay, so that's just dry. Here's wet. So there you go. Those are some that are made directly for drums, but like I said, you can go in here and you can mess with these if you want and make your own presets. These are probably a little bit wetter. The presets here, I think people made them so they'd be a little bit more subdued, but you can go in and mess with them yourself. Oh, another thing I should mention, I don't think I went over this. This preset here, this is just changing the algorithm. Sometimes it'll be a completely different algorithm. Sometimes it'll just be a slight adjustment to the current algorithm. So you can mess with that too if there's something, it's close to what I want, but not exactly the same. Let's see, I'll try a little bit more. So I went through those. I probably should have adjusted those. Some of those sound good on this loop. Some of them sound terrible. But the lucky thing is you can actually adjust those and mess with them yourself. So if you think, that one sounds terrible, you have, like 100 other algorithms you can choose for it. So let's go for like a singing example here and go through a few of these. Vocal. Let's try this. Move over here. First, just dry. Okay, wet. Okay, so that should give you some idea of how some of the short reverb sounds. I'll try to move on to some longer ones. Let me see here. What should I do? I'll try this one. This is just a synth sound. I'll try a few synths here. I apologize, I'm a little bit sick, so my voice sounds a little bit strange today, but hopefully that's okay. Let's try this one for long plate pad. Actually, nice synth room. I think this one is a kind of like a smaller sound, but you can hear it dry first. Okay, now with it on, turn the loop on. Here we go. Okay, try another one. Wide synth room. I want to hear the really long stuff. Let's try this one. I think this is one I made. Ethereal Hall. Here we go. So let me turn that up a little bit more. I want to hear more reverb. There we go. I'm feeling really 80s right now. I want to turn my reverb up. Anyways, let's keep going. I'll do another one here. Another one I created is this one. So this one I called Shimmer. And as you can hear, or as you can see, it has pitch shifting, so I can move this up. Now it's going up 12 steps, so it should be an octave. Shimmer ratio has various things, but I'll let you hear it. Here we go. So you can probably hear that octave up. I can turn it up if you want even more, like this. Reminds me of one of those early 90s after-school specials, but that's cool. And then it has different things here, like sparkle. They all kind of react differently. This one. So you can see they're all kind of different there. They have a different feel to them. This one could also be used for some other things, like on addictive keys. Let's move over to piano sound and try out some other long reverbs. Let's see. Do I have anything good here for piano? Let's try Hall. Something big. You can hear it dry. Here we go. Okay, and wet. So I think this nice one. It's a little bit clear, but it does have, I guess, a little bit of, I don't know if it has modulation, but it sounds good to me. Let's do another one. This one definitely has some modulation. Dreamy spectral reverb. So turn this up a little bit so you can hear this, but this should have a really ambient sound. Here we go. So as you can hear, that one does sound quite ambient. You can also use a pitch shift here if you want to shift it up and down, just like the other ones. Let's see here. What else do I have? Have reverse stuff. This sounds kind of interesting. Okay. Let's see. Do I have anything else here I want to go through? Lengthwise, let's get into some of the creative stuff, because the creative stuff I think is almost more interesting. So lots of this stuff, you can create these really interesting sounds that you've never heard before that don't even sound like reverbs, actually. But let's check this one out. It's called Alien Crowd, one of my favorite ones. Here we go. So you can see it does really sound like aliens, but I think that's not the best loop. Let me try it on this MTurboReverb synth so you can hear it. Here we go. That's cool. It reminds me of like some 80s effect. If you mess with these, they have a bunch of different sounds to them. So like this one. I don't know, I really like that effect for some reason. For some reason, it just sounds really good to me. So you can use that too. There's a bunch of different stuff in here. Like there's some that sound like metallic. There's some that have lots of pitch shifting in them. Let me see. Haunted. I think this is another one. Let me try this one. So you have lots of those types of effects, like the infinite cavity. I think this goes on for like ever. If I move this back here so you can hear it on Addictive Keys. It's still going. I don't know how long this lasts, but even this is on 50%. Let me play this last loud note so you can hear it here. So if you want something with a really long delay, that's a good one to use. And last but not least, I probably should have gone over some of the other ones, like some of the special stuff. I did go over some of the special stuff, didn't I? And plates and springs. I didn't go over any springs here, but the springs, one of them I made, and I like it at least. But let's go over the 2D positioning also. So I'll use this clip here. It's a trumpet sound, so you can hear this here. And let me turn this up a little bit. I have this preset here, studio horn, but let me turn this up to like 45% so you can hear it well. So here it is, completely dry. Okay, and here it is wet. And of course, you can move this here to move it like to the left and right and forwards and backwards. And of course, you can, if you click here on details, you have the late reflections, early reflections, so you can mess with that just like you did there. But this allows you to move it around there. I'll do one more here with a hall sound. Move it up again. And here we go. So as you can hear, there's lots of different things you can do with this. Of course, if you don't like some of these, or like, I like part of this but part of the other one, you can actually go into the edit and like mix and match parts of it if you know what you're doing. And maybe in the next video, I'll kind of show you how to do that if you have the full version. If you have the LE, I would say this is all you have, but it's like 100 different algorithms, really. I'm sure you can find something you like. If you have any questions or something you want to ask, leave it below. Give me a thumbs up if you like this, and subscribe if you haven't done that. Until then, thanks for watching and see you.